Yeah, hello guys. It's me again this evening. We just want to do some little analysis and we go on with the campaign. Obaseki 4+4 top bar. Just listen while we wait for others to come. Obaseki come on for the fellow people. Make you consistent to small by small. I don't see cause I'm from the salary a lot. I don't think I'm going from another big income. Pension you understand people no more protest for their money. Marketing messages no more illegal possession. Grace Obama, God bless you. You are welcome, man. God bless you. Rawa Ikebo, Mabel, God bless you, man. You are welcome, man. I appreciate you. Let's just share. Let's press the share button. Let's invite people in. Just press your share button as you come in. Let's try to educate them today. Too much of talk. We need to educate them today. If you collect all you go back, don't use it to Miami. That be destiny killer. Don't use it to Miami. What's the apple for father? A very big blessing. That be destiny killer. Don't use it to Miami. Obaseki, wow, baby, I wonder. People say me to carry wonder. Who are the final saying the election to become as a final say? Now so. Who are the final saying the election to become as a final say? The people say now Obaseki them one. Now you make una carry go. Someone like say yamu. Please just share. Press your share button. Let's share the word of freedom. Just press your share button as you come in. And first on Friday, I greet you, sir. Please share and invite friends now. Let's invite friends. Edo in Diaspora Support Group for Obaseki 2020. Nai James, I greet you, bros. Sister Joy, I greet you. Phil, I greet you, sir. After Maro, yeah. Omobelo, I greet you, sir. Hey man, this is nice. You know, one of our brothers just put this together and I decided to play it for our amiable governor inaugural Obaseki. 4 + 4 Toba. You know, that 4 + 4, like about Mali said, you know, just be knocking 4 + 4 almost by 4 + 4. 4 + 4 Obane. Yeah, Omobelo Obane. You'll be knocking 4 + 4. 4 + 4. No negotiation. 4 + 4. It must bar. It must bar. It must bar. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today is another day again. By popular demand, people have been calling me and say, sir, why not you talk about the MOU that has been the talk of town? You know, Oshomole and his allies are going around town saying Obaseki is an MOU governor, blah 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 blah, and I like I felt there was no need for that, but after so much pressure from my fans, I said, please, you need to talk about what an MOU stands for. It's going to help us to know where we are going. I said, okay, let me take my time to do some little analysis, on what an MOU stands for. Because the truth of the matter is these guys do not really understand what is an MOU. That's the problem. When there's a difference between an intellectual and a continental, okay? That's what we call a round pair in a round hole is different from a round pair in a square hole. So these two guys, Obaseki and Oshomole versus Iseyamo, are two different set of people that have two different ideology about how things works. This Obaseki, Iseyamo is a politician. Oshomole is a politician. Obaseki is a technocrat. He is an administrator. So, and being an administrator is a broker for that matter. One who understood how to manage people's wealth, who has built people from scratch, according to Oshomole, and made them to become multi-billionaires. A man who had been able to make people like Dangote to get to the level of being, in the stock exchange market. A man who had helped to build, a Citizen Bank with Hebrew from nowhere and put them to the limelight. A man who has joined hands in building nearly all the second generation banks to be what they are today in the Nigerian setting. Such a man understood everything about how to make things workable. Now, if you are actually running a business or running a government without a memorandum of understanding, it is called a courtenay. That is why most of the time when a project is being executed, and at the end of the day, the contractor did not do it according to specifications, the government does not actually have what it takes to hold them to accountability, particularly when the money is being borrowed. Okay. Now, you heard of the contract that was signed between the Nigerian government and the China government around 2015 or thereabout. Whereby there was a clause about ceding our sovereignty to the Chinese if we are unable to pay. That thing you call a contract is actually a memorandum of understanding. That very particular thing you saw there, it is called a memorandum of understanding. Okay? It's a code. Now, let me define. Let's first go. I want to define what is an MOU. What is an MOU? The full meaning of MOU is Memorandum of Understanding. Now, a Memorandum of Understanding is a document that describes the broad outline of an agreement that two or more parties have reached. An agreement that two or more parties have reached. Do you see why? Because Obaseki is so intellectual, is so learned, is so vast. He doesn't want to just tell you, Mr. John, you're going to tie Airport Road. How much are you going to get? Just like Oshomole. They'll start doing market to my bargain. Okay, give me 4 billion. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 billion. No, give me 1 billion. I'm going to give you 300,000. Then they'll start doing, up. No, this guy will sit down with you, have a talk. Now, you come to an agreement. The agreement will be put on paper. Okay? We'll put on paper. MOU communicate the mutually accepted expectation of all of the parties involved in the negotiation. I repeat again. Memorandum of Understanding communicates the mutually accepted expectations of all of the parties involved in a negotiation. So, you see, if you don't have an MOU, you're going to have a successful, a corrupt-free state. With the MOU being written by Obaseki, in the MOU, the whole conditions are being stated. What needs to be done? What ought not to be done? The specification that he wants and the specification that is not wants. The time frame in which this whole thing can be done. Okay? Now, an MOU most of the time is between the borrower and the lender. Okay? An MOU is between the borrower most of the time and the lender if the money that is going to be used in executing the project is not directly from the borrower now or the one that owns the contract. I'm going to give an example of that. Like we have the PPP, private-public partnership. They will now have the private Usomo power plant. We now have the private modular refinery today. Those are all MOU projects. The government of Nigeria, maybe the government of Edo State, had only 30% in the Usomo power plant. In the modularity, they had nothing in it. It is zero cost to Edo State government. But there was an understanding between the company that came to build the refinery in Edo State and the government of Obaseki. So what they did was they need to sit down, have a negotiation, have a plan, put it on paper. What it will cost them to build it, how many years they are going to take in running the company to get their profit back, if that is the case, or how many years will it take the government of Obaseki to pay them their money back? Then what are the conditions if they fail to pay? That is the work of an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. So when people talk, because they are not used to it, they are not used to this beer parlor contract. Contract you take, you know, a governor will sit in a hotel room with some guests, and the guy will just rub his back, and he will say, "Okay, oh my dear, you are so good. Go and tie Sapler Road." You see how much do you want? Just say. Then you say, "Go and bring your quotation." Then it's done. Boom, you get a job. That is what they are used to. So they don't really understand these so very many papers being sent by Obaseki here and there to know what it needs to go into so that it doesn't go into where it will now lock up the entire Edo state into unnecessary debt. You have to understand all the ties and the dons that is involved in that very particular business. That is the work of an MOU. That's why I said, as MOU communicates, the mutual acceptable acceptation, the mutually accepted expectation of all the parties involved in a negotiation. So MOU helps during the negotiation time. MOU helps. So when they're negotiating, they put everything down. At the end, I will not say, okay, this is the quality I want based on this price. This is what we can be able to afford. Or if it's going to be a PPP kind of system, we will not say, okay, this job, I want you to go and do this at this cost. Now, it's going to take you 20 years to get at your profit. Then you hand over the company back to the people. Or this MOU will make you, now, if you are coming in, this MOU will help you now to bring only one engineer, whereas the other engineers will come from Edo State. That is the job of an MOU. That is what an MOU does. So if you are not conversant with the way and manner a well-organized system works, it becomes difficult for you to understand what Obaseki is actually doing. It becomes very difficult. You look like, oh, this man signs so much paper. Just bring out the money, please. Let's just go. Like our brother said, what is the name of this man? Kabaka said, he said, why don't you just give us contract to go and build a school? If they sit you down to do a negotiation on what is the cost of building a 6 classrooms, can you give a quotation? They say no. Because you have no idea. That is what they do before. They give a road contract to a guy, because he's a politician, who had never done road, who had no idea of road constructions. Who have no idea of road construction. They just give them the contract, go do the road. And this guy comes, they mess up the whole project. Then just one rainfall, everything is washed away. But Obaseki is saying, no, we are no more in that era. That is why today, any job being done by the Obaseki administration that has fault today, report the matter to the government immediately. And the contractor that did that very particular project will be called to questioning based on the agreement that they have reached. Without an MOU, you cannot hold somebody accountable for a job that is not well done. Because the negotiations are there. It's put on writing. The dots are being, and the I's are being dotted and the T's are being crossed for a proper and well organized or atomized, projects that you are about to go into. The cost effect, the quantity, the quality, everything is in the MOU. So there's a negotiation between both parties. They will not come to a compromise. The compromise where they come to is what now form the memorandum of understanding. Okay? So, and let me tell you something. One thing they don't know is this. Do you know an MOU is not binding? It's not legally binding. Okay? I might decide to sign an MOU with you today, and tomorrow I might decide to pull out of it. Maybe the time I signed it, for example, before the COVID-19, the cost of doing business was not as expensive as it is today. So if I sign an MOU with you before the COVID-19, it's not a contract. I've not signed a contract yet. It's just an MOU, an agreement, a negotiation that we put together that this is what we want. This is how it's going to go. Now, the COVID-19 came in during the March and the entire world was locked down. Then the cost of living skyrocketed. Inflation went on rampage. And in the third world countries, like where we come from, the cost of doing business so much went high that it goes out of the reach of the ordinary man. So in such a situation now, the government will not, the man who had the contract with you before the coming of the COVID-19 will not want to continue. Since the contract is not binding yet, then it can easier to say we have a new negotiation based on what is on ground. That is an MOU. So, but when you have a contract, your contract becomes binding. But an MOU is not legally binding. It's just an agreement on how things will be done before a proper contract will not be initiated. Okay? Before a proper contract will not be initiated for you to not carry out the job. The first you do is get an MOU. Then the next thing you do is not put